Trippers of Reddit, what are some things that happen in trip clubs we are not aware of? So many impressive physical feats, and I'm not talking about the pole tricks. I used to work with a girl who was flexible, but her knee would occasionally just slip out of place. She'd elegantly punch it back into place and finish her set before chugging pain meds and icing it. Nobody would know the difference. Another girl I knew would get walk into walls drunk, yet always knew her exact amount of money and could do a standing split at the edge of a stage in 8-inch heels no matter how trashed. I once watched a 4 minutes and 11 seconds dancer nearly rock a vending machine over on herself because she wanted a snack. Same girl saved herself and another dancer from a 10-foot fall off the pole when the other girl lost her grip and they both dropped. Sheer force of thigh. Best co-workers ever. Less typically attractive girls tend to still make insane money as desperate men think they have a chance to score with them, so will pay big money to spend time and VIP with them. These girls know this and milk the men for everything before leaving them for the next desperate customer. Source: I'm the manager of a trip club. I used to hang out between classes at the club my friend bartended at in the middle of the day. It was winter and I could smoke inside and ladies got in free, plus all the free popcorn and soda. Real classy place. I watched a friendly game of hide the shoe between a few of the girls when it was completely dead inside. The girl on stage after her turn would take the shoe of the next girl, climb a pole, and hide it in the ceiling. The next girl would find her shoe and then proceed to hide the next girl's shoe in a different ceiling tile. I was fascinated by this. Trippers have downtime and get bored at work just like every other job. You have to make it fun during the boring times. Sometimes there are house moms who run the dressing rooms. Sometimes the house mom is a gay guy. Sometimes he is tasked with trimming or tucking in a girl's tampon string so it doesn't show when she is nude on stage. In Alberta, Canada, we can throw loonies, dollar coins, at the trippers. They make games out of it by placing other coins on their body and making you throw loonies to knock them off. A tripper once told me she didn't want to work at a certain other club because they had Kleenex in the private rooms. Not a tripper, but managed the trip club for 2 years. The main thing that I found interesting is that being hot isn't the main thing that will determine success. The girls that make the best money are the girls with strong personalities that will create a connection that will make the customer want to pay to stay in the moment. Also, the amount of money that some people spend. We have several customers that will spend anywhere between $5,000 and $15,000 a night on dances alone, and do this multiple nights every week. We pay to work. In the locker room we're just sitting on our phone gathering the strength to pretend to give a shoe to another customer. I pay the club every night that I go into work. It varies between cities. It can be as low as $10 or as high as $100, but is usually somewhere in the middle. Friend was a cocktail waitress at a trip club and we hung out there after hours one time. The most mind-blowing thing to me is that the pole rotates. It basically acts like the center pole part of a merry-go-round. The girls aren't spinning around the pole, but they are holding on and the pole is spinning. Not a tripper, but I worked at a pretty popular local TI bar for a couple of years. I had some fun experiences, but one thing that surprised me was the amount of straight women that would come into the club. Groups of women would come in for a birthday party or something like that, get a few bricks of singles and buy dances all night while literally making it rain. Some women would come in just to get free drinks from all the honey dudes that frequented the club, and some women would even bring their boyfriends with them and pay for his dances just to show him a good time. This place wasn't a traditional trip club though. They were a bar with an adult entertainment license, so alcohol was served, which made the environment a little different. Had a friend who worked security at the upper level of a nightclub. The upper level was a strict name-only trip club, nothing dodgy, but you had to book in advance. He was given a list of people he wasn't allowed to let in. Eventually found out that these people he would have to bounce were people related or were in direct contact with the performers, because they were turning tricks in the VIP rooms. Thankfully the place is shut down. The lack of filter on the girls. I'm a male manager, but I'm still going to hear about the shoot they just had, how their period is going and the guy they fricked yesterday whether I want to or not. It's amazing how quickly you get desensitized to any kind of shock factor. Friends a tripper at a gentleman's club. She says she gets given a lot of drugs during lap dances like coke, and VIPs insist on the dancers to do drugs, because they pay well and the longer you hang around the more they pay for your time pretty much. I am asking, because at a bachelor party, the tripper basically told me for $200 at VIP I could get a 15-minute quickie, and management knows this happens, but don't care. I don't know if nobody knows this, but it's generally accepted that straight girls are the worst customers. They expect special privileges, they'll talk shit to you for being a whore, and often they don't tip. We had the nastiest robes to go outside to smoke in. Nobody was allowed to take them to wash and the club workers wouldn't. Mix it with rolling around on the stage and having many men touch your back or legs throughout your shift. Not to mention your own sweat. Dirty job. The owner kept it ghetto on purpose. I swear. A high-paying regular offered to buy a new pool table and the owner refused. Pretty dumb move. Customers stopped coming in. There's strange relationships between regulars and dancers sometimes. Really strange. Marriages and cheaters on both sides. Jealousy traps. Girls claim customers and get itchy as frick if they get a dance from someone else. 2 seasoned dancers and my manager pressured me to fly to Hawaii with one of my regulars. I was adamant about not going 4 months. Finally convinced it wasn't a bad idea. It was a terrible freaking idea. Pretty hard to believe you were assaulted as a tripper when you fly to Hawaii with a customer. I never danced again. Literally too stupid to even be a tripper Lola. One thing you may not know is that the trippers don't get paid. They pay to work there. I am probably in pain at any given point in the night. The dance I'm giving you is killing my knees and I'm counting down the minutes in of it. Also, as others have said, I get charged to work, both a flat fee and a percentage of every dance. Contrary to popular belief, I don't make thousands every weekend, and I consider myself good looking and I work hard. Most people would not find the work worth the money. There's a reason so many girls come and go so quickly. That said, I actually enjoy my job for the most part. It's something I've always wanted to do. I think people would be surprised at the amount of dancers that don't have to work there. People with degrees and full-time jobs. People with money saved up. People who are taken care of. For some of us it's a hobby. For some of us it's a job. And for some, including myself, it's both. DJ here. The women's restroom is freaking disgusting. I did double duty for the door guy at the end of one night, because he had to leave early and the bartender told me to clean the restroom before I left. I walked in, walked right back out and said yeah, insert door guy's name. Can do it in the morning. I'm not touching that. Fire me if you want. I worked as a chef in a trip club with a fine dining restaurant in it. It was an upscale joint. Most of the women had a menu of things they would do in the VIP room. If a garment was hanging on the door, that meant something was going on in there that management would want plausible deniability for. The club I worked at was in a major coastal city. Girls would fly in from all over the West Coast to work for the weekend. Some of the women were amazing athletes. We had a pole that went up 3 stories and a trapeze. Some of their routines amazed me and gave me a newfound respect for trippers. My sister is in a tripper group on Facebook and FYI they talk about you guys. I didn't think I'd ever have this happen, but in the VIP room a guy just pulled his dong out. Didn't expect to have that actually happen. Also my manager was looking in the camera anyways and she just figured I had it handled. A lot is just brushed away as whatever, do what you do. But in other trip clubs, you so much as get a little grope and you're in trouble. So much is different from club to club. Also poles are nasty and they do spin, but some don't. In my experience as a tripper, something I wasn't expecting was that most of the other girls were gay bi. I'm bisexual, so I actually really enjoyed that part. On my first night there, one of the girls came and sat on my lap and started making out with me. She would also join me on stage and we'd have a good bit of fun together. We definitely enjoyed working around other half-naked women. I'm not a dancer, but I used to drive cab. You get to know a lot of the girls. To answer your question, cook and B jobs. Oh, and a lot of drama between the girls. The best trip club story a tripper on here shared was how a customer knew she was on her period even without her showing signs of being on it when she was on stage. It ends in a really disgusting way. Lol. One time there was a customer who was not there for fun, but instead he was a private investigator looking for a cheating spouse. Also another time there was another customer who was a bounty hunter. Also I met another customer who was the repo man trying to find one of the dancers to repo her car. Not sure if this is the right place to ask this question. If not, please redirect and I'll edit. I've only been to one strip club one time. I was very concerned for the girls' safety, because I noticed that nobody cleans the stage in between dancers. So, one dancer goes on, does her thing which typically includes splits and grinding on the floor nude, most certainly leaving bodily fluid behind. Then the next girl comes out and does the same with no sanitation in between performances. Do the dancers not worry about these things? Buy drinks for the ladies. Some strip clubs have a minimum number of drinks a girl needs to convince customers to buy her, and if she doesn't make the quota, she has to pay for it out of her tips. Make sure you buy the drink with her so she can get the credit. If she makes anything above her quota, she gets a specific amount for each credit. She'll also likely have to tip out the bar, the hostess, security, the DJ, and it's considered polite to also tip the MC, but it's not always required. Some girls though make a lot after all the tip outs. Also, if she gets a champagne room, it counts to her drink quota, and she gets a portion of the room fee if you pay above a certain amount. Don't be gross and expect her to do something she isn't comfortable doing just because you are paying so much for her time. She is giving you undivided attention and losing out on lap dances and stage tips.